Hi guys, thank you all for watching and welcome back to Sewing Clara. In today's video we'll be unboxing together my new Overlock sewing machine. I just got the Singer 14SH654. I already have a sewing machine that has both the cover lock and overlock function, but before I got the sewing machine I kind of thought that it would be much more convenient and much easier to swap between the two modes. But once I got the machine, I realized that it's actually pretty inconvenient when you're in the middle of a sewing project and you want to swap back and forth between cover lock and overlock. So I had decided to leave the sewing machine set up to cover lock, which I love, and I've been using it ever since, and I just can't even imagine not having it anymore at this point. And I decided to buy an additional sewing machine that will be just an overlock sewing machine, so that's why I got this one. So let's have a look at it. So here we have the box. It's not actually super heavy, and I grab my scissors here and we'll cut the tape on the top. It's a complete virgin, guys. I have not even touched it because I wanted to do this together with you. So here on the top of the box we have the pedal, and obviously it's packed in styrofoam so that it would be protected. And here it is. Ooh. Ta-da! There was also a booklet in the box with the instructions. I don't know about you guys, but I'm so bad in reading manuals, so let's see if this is gonna be any good or if I'll have to look up thousands YouTube tutorials and find out how to use it. I'm just not good in that. I just unwrapped the pedal with the power cable, so they are both connected at the end. So this goes into the sewing machine, and it's really great that the power cord is quite long. The machine has on the bottom these small suction cups, so that way it should stay attached to the table when I'll be sewing. And here we have it. So in the background you can see the Singer Professional 5, that's the overlock coverlock combo, but let's have a look at this one. So the threads come to the back. There are 4 pins with this plastic part that holds the threads in place, and then there is this wire telescopic thingy that you hang the threads on, but you have to pull it all the way out. And let's have a look at some other features. So we have here this small wheel that's for setting the stitch length. This wheel is the regular sewing machine wheel that lifts the needle. There is a lever that's for the differential transport. And now let's pop the hood. So the threading system is here clearly pictured, and it's also color coded, which makes it easier. And another thing that I appreciate is that it's also numbered, because it's really important to know in which order you thread an overlock sewing machine or even coverlock sewing machine, because otherwise the threads would get tangled and it wouldn't work properly. So the first one you want to thread is the second from the right. The second you want to thread is the very right one. The third one is the second from the left. And the last one is the very left thread. So that's the system here. And again, it's pretty well coded here, so that shouldn't be an issue. An overlock machine comes with a knife that cuts the edges clean. If you would want to use any type of stitch that is not using the knife, you have to push here to the side and then turn the lever upwards, so basically away from you, and then you have to make it snap in. There's like a little pin and the wheel snaps in and the knife stays away. It's pointing towards the back. And if you want to have the knife back on, again, push with your, let's say, index finger from the left and then turn it all the way down and then make it snap. So that's the knife. Let's close the hood and have a look at the side here. So there is a point where I have to push when I want to remove this little table. It's not really intuitive in my opinion to find it, but once you found out where it is, it's really easy. All you have to do is to push the button and then pull the table out. And then here you have a tweezer, a screwdriver, and 2 extra needles. The tweezer is really helpful when threading, especially for the needles and the screwdriver. You'll need that in order to remove or swap the needles because they're being screwed on. And here are the needles. It's the type 2022, and there is also written somewhere in the manual which needles or what kind of needles would be an alternative for this sewing machine. When the sewing table is removed, you'll have here this narrow side arm. That's obviously very convenient when you're sewing something tight or narrow, for example, cuffs from a top or the bottom of leggings, for example. Putting it back on is even easier. Just put it on, make sure it's straight and push, and that's pretty much it. So now let's turn the machine on. And we're gonna put in some threads. So I'll start here in the back. I will put in different colors because we just wanna see what the stitches look like. And I'm so nervous, guys. I'm always like a little kid with these things. I'm always super insecure when I have a new device. So here on the top, I simply hook the threads into these loops. So the threading is color-coded, and we are supposed to start with the purple path, which is the second thread from the right. I don't have a purple thread, so we'll use my absolutely favorite color, which is neon orange. Now in the back of the machine there is a little hook, and you have to hook the thread behind the little hook, and then you go through this wheel here. And here you see this little wheel with numbers. That's where you can set up the tension of the thread. I went here below this hook, and then the path is marked purple, so I have to snap the thread into all places. So here is one hook where I simply go below, and here I had to snap it in from below, and here from above. I'm gonna chop the thread a little bit, and here I have these two grippers, and I'll just go through the back gripper. I'll help myself with the tweezer and pull the thread through, and the first thread is in. So this one was easy. Now let's do the black thread, which is this very first on the right. That's the one we're supposed to do as second. So I hook the thread behind through the little hook on the back. We'll go through the wheel here, and now here again through behind the little hook, and then we will follow the yellow path. So we have here one place where we have to snap the thread in, so I'll go from the right. Here we have to go from the bottom. Right next to it is next one. And here behind is another one. And now this is a little tricky because it's really far in, so I'll hook the thread behind another yellow marking and try not to get caught somewhere else. And then we have here this gripper, that's the back gripper. We have to grab the thread and go behind the gripper. And now at the very left side of the gripper, there is a little hook where we have to secure the thread in. And for that I always go a little lower. I grab the tweezer and lower the thread to the left side, and it gets caught in, it gets secured. And then I'll chop it a little because I pulled it out way too far, but it's okay. And now I will pull the thread through the eye of the gripper, and for that I'll move the wheel a little bit towards the back so that the other gripper lowers, and when I go through the hole or through the eye, it's easier to pull the thread out. I hope this was understandable. This is really not intuitive in my opinion on the back side, but that's just how it works. So now we secured or threaded both threads. Important is that the black thread goes over the orange one. That's why you start with the orange first and then with the black. Otherwise it wouldn't work. So we'll close the hood. And now let's go in with the two remaining threads. So the third thread we'll do is the second one from the left, here marked as the green path. So I'll go behind underneath the little hook. We go here through the wheels, and then we have here these two beakies. So we go once below the small one, once below the big one, and then we go above here, above this green dot. And then here's like a little twirl, I always grab the thread, hold it with my left index finger, and go below the twirly thingy there, and then kind of lift the thread behind, and when I pull it to the front, it's in. Then I always chop the thread, because it's usually way too long at this point, since I've been pulling at it as if my life depended on it. I make sure I have my reading glasses, grab the end of the thread with the, what's it called, tweezer, and then I go through the eye of the needle. Feel really good about it, because when I have my reading glasses I can actually see something. And I will pull it through and leave it here on the side. Then we'll grab the last one, which is the very left one. Again, the little hook in the back, the wheelie thingy. Then we have to go below here, and then we go here on the top, and then through the twirly thingy too, and then through the eye of the needle, and that's pretty much it. So these are not so difficult. I find that the very right one that goes to the front gripper is always a challenge, but it gets always easier with time. So let's go through the eye of the needle. Alrighty, it is true. It feels so good to actually see something. I should wear my reading glasses way more often than I do. And if I didn't mess anything up, when I'll start sewing, it should do the little chain. And it does, guys. That makes me feel so great. So you basically make a chain like this and chop it, and then you're able to start sewing. Now let's make our first stitches. So the knife is now down. That means it's gonna chop the edge of the fabric. What you have to understand with overlock is that when you go further to the right and the knife would be up, it would get tangled into all these parts, the fabric. So that's not good. You always have to make sure that you go only towards the edge of the sewing foot, or if you go further, that the knife is down and it's gonna chop the fabric accordingly. Also, the transport has to be set up so that when you put the fabric in, the little teeth of the transport can grip it. That's why you have the lever on the side. So when I pull it all the way to the front, it's gonna come a little bit further to the front. When I put it to the back, it's gonna go a little bit to the back, right? So I'm just gonna leave it as it is. That works fine for me. I'm gonna position the fabric so that it goes a little bit over the right edge of the sewing foot. The knife's gonna do the work for me, and let's sew. And here you have to chain up. All right, so I just chop it. And here we have the little piece that the knife cut off. And here we have the stitch. Let me focus the camera better. So since we have different colors, you can see where which color is. So the thread that we threaded as the first one is the one that you're gonna have on the top, and all the other ones are gonna be in the back when you're using all 4 threads. So now we're gonna put the knife up. So I'll push to the side, turn the wheel away from me, let it snap in, close the hood again, and here I will have to sew so that the fabric only ends where the end of the right edge is, where the right edge of the sewing foot ends. That's what I wanted to say. So let's do that. Alrighty, and that's what it looks like. I find this result much nicer, but in some cases it might make sense to not chop the edge. So I'm gonna fold the fabric in the middle, make sure I align the edge of the fabric with the edge of the sewing foot. I will position it in like so, and we are going to sew through. Nice. Alrighty, so, and that's what it would look like when I would open it. Perfect. So these were the first steps with the sewing machine. My first impression is that it is a nice sewing machine. I like the way the stitches look, and I find that it's actually quite easy to work with the machine. The only thing I would say is that it is a little loud, especially when I compare it with my Coverlock Overlock combo, but it's not terrible. I've had louder machines, so it's not bad, but it is definitely louder than the other machines that I have. I also went through the manual, and I have to say I find that this is a really nice manual. Besides the technical data and the overview of how to thread the machine, there are also different types of stitches. It's very well explained. It always has a table with the necessary tension for whichever thread. And what else? It also explains, when you look at the stitches, which thread goes where, so that when you look at your stitches and something's not right, that you can tell, okay, maybe thread number 2 needs a different tension, and so on and so on. That's really good. There's also a table with possible errors and with solutions, and a table with common fabrics, and it explains what type of needle is good for whatever type of fabric and what yarn would be good. I'm definitely excited to start working with the sewing machine and to try out all the things that it can do. I'll be the first to admit that I don't have that much experience working with Overlock, so I will go through the manual and try everything out, and once I'll feel confident, I will come back and film another video with the other stitches. Again, just a short overview. And if you guys have any experience with this sewing machine, and if you have any tips, you are welcome to share them in the comments. It's great that we can learn from each other. And if you have a sewing blog or a sewing channel, you are also very welcome to share a link to your media here down below. Should it get caught in the system, don't worry, I go through all comments that get caught regularly and I always allow them. So if anything gets caught, don't worry, I'll set it up later so that it will be visible. And that's gonna be it for today. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate you guys very much. Have a wonderful day and see you soon. Bye.